pricing. Your pricing. Samrani Dumalang, hello, my name is Malwande and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much guys for the love and the support on my first business related video, and in response to that we're gonna step by step get into more small business related stuff. This is the first, well, this is the second one, and in this video I will be sharing my journey about my business named Naigelwe Hair. Disclaimer, it is currently on pause, so you actually can't necessarily find any of my products. Actually, you can. Some of my products are being sold on an e-commerce platform, which is a black-owned platform. It's called bobza.co.za. I will put it here, and I will also link it in the description box below. You can still get my long braids bonnets from them, as well as some of my satin scrunchies. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into why you're here. So I'm going to focus on the product aspect of my business. In the new Braid I Must Have series, I did focus on the service side of my business, where I was basically a house call hairstylist. I thoroughly went through all of that and gave my tips and gave my advice and my lessons in the new Braid I Must Have series. So if you haven't caught up on that, please go ahead and watch it. It is on my channel. It's in a playlist, New Braid I Must Haves. Here we're going to talk about the product aspect, which came as the second half of my business. So by this point, I'd already established my brand. I had already started an Instagram account, and I think I had started a TikTok account, but if I hadn't, I then soon followed up with starting a TikTok account. So how did I start my product side of my business? I wanted to create a solution to a problem. That was my first step. I found a problem and I wanted to solve the problem. The problem that I found was that sleeping with braids was quite irritating. And mind you, at that time, I was one of those ankle length, knee length girl kind of braids. So that length of braids, there was no way to sleep with them comfortably, to shower with them comfortably, just to have them out of the way as you sleep. You know, even when I would do faux locks, my faux locks would be like knee length or below the butt length, quite long. So that was the problem that I wanted to solve for myself, but also for other women who are into the same thing. So that is when I then decided to sit down, apply my creativity. Thankfully, I went to art school, so creativity is definitely something that runs in me. And so I sat down to think and do some research about how bonnets are designed. And then I realized that actually, if I take a normal bonnet design and I just elongate it, I will then have what I called a braids bonnet. Now these bonnets are popular, but at the time, this was I think 2021, they were not as popular as they are now. So I sat down, I designed one, and then my next step after that was to go to the fabric shop. Before we even go to the fabric shop to go shop for my sample materials, I needed capital. I needed the money to be able to shop for some fabrics. So thankfully I was employed. I had just come out of an internship, and also because I was doing my house call braiding service, I had some money coming in from that, but it wasn't actually enough. So I took out a loan from my mother. Yep, I told my mom what I wanted to do, and my mother is an extremely business-minded human being. She always has been. That's been my number one inspiration for realizing that I actually am capable of starting something. It was from my mother. So when I told her that, Mom, look, this is the problem that I'm trying to solve and I need money for fabrics, she said, okay, cool, bet, and I'm giving you 2 months to pay me back the money I'm borrowing you. It wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like 400-500 rand. Yeah, that was enough for me to buy my sample fabrics. Then we went to a fabric shop. Just a simple Google search, fabric stores near me, read some reviews, picked one, went to it, chose different types of satins. I knew that I wanted it to be satin on the outside so that it doesn't cause friction with the rest of your bedding, and also so that the color doesn't come out, you know, all those different things. And just so that it looks pretty as well. And then I knew as well that I did not want to have an elastic band here. I wanted something that was more soft, more gentle, and that wouldn't leave that, you know, that elastic band mark that you wake up with in the morning. I did not want that on my products. So I went ahead, got some fabrics, went back home, you know, did what I did, decided on some measurements, some trial and error. I'm going to skip through that because not everyone is doing this particular product, so I don't think those details are necessary. But basically, I came up with the product, created my sample. After creating my sample, I tried it on myself. And like I said, I was solving a problem that I was facing. So I had myself to trial the solution on. So yeah, I tried it with the braids I had that were the kind of braids I was trying to solve the problem for. Then I realized I think my first sample was too short. Then I created another sample, made it a bit longer, kept on sampling until I had a sample that I was satisfied with. Then I took a couple of photos with myself, me, tripod, Bluetooth remote, my product, clean white background. I took some pictures, and that was that. Then I posted them. Then I think I gifted someone one of my bonnets, and I asked them to please give me honest feedback. So yeah, I invited someone into my trial space, I guess, let them try it out, and they gave me their feedback. I think one of the feedbacks that they had was that the band at the top was too big for their head in particular, so I needed to make some adjustments. And yeah, I did those adjustments. After that, now came the how am I going to sell this product, right? I knew that one thing I wanted was for my customers to have a smooth experience. I wanted them to not have the hassle of DM me for price, DM to order. I didn't want my prices to be secretive like that, okay? So I was like, what is nice, neat, and respectful, and that makes me a respectable brand, but also something that is accessible and affordable for me? That's when I came across a platform where I was able to create a free website, basically not a website, sorry, a free online store. And the platform that I went with is called Equid. I opened my account on Equid, followed their steps. First, I did some research, and the first one that I found was Shopify, right? After doing more research, I realized that I could not afford Shopify. Shopify was way above the amount of money, the amount of monthly subscription that I was willing to pay at that point for something that I wasn't sure was going to be a success or not. So I actually wanted a way where I would pay 0 rands because I didn't have any more rands to invest into this. So I then came across Equid, signed up on Equid, created my stuff, and with the use of my brain, couple of tutorial videos, next thing I had a website. Then I took that, put it in my Instagram bio, and after that, every time I went to a client for a braiding service, I would tell them, hey, you can also get a product from me. Hey, I just started my online store. Hey, I'm in the process of launching some products. And that became my second step in marketing, because the first one was Instagram, and then after that I followed up by just pitching this to my clients. It got to a point where I'd actually go to some of my house call bookings with my product on hand. So I would go with a bonnet that I know will fit their braids. So I had short bonnets and I had the long braids bonnets. Soon after that, I then developed my satin bonnets, which are just, kind of the normal bonnets you can use for your natural hair, which are satin on the inside too. So then I would go to my clients with the stuff on hand, with the scrunchies and a bonnet, and then show them, be like, hey, loving new braids that I've just done on you. How about you get yourself this bonnet? How about you get yourself these scrunchies to style your braids with? And then 9 times out of 10, honestly, I would make a sale and they would just transfer everything when they pay for the hair service as well. And then just like that, now they have a product as well. And obviously they use it, they like it, they post about it, or they tell their friends about it. Next thing, I'm getting another order. So that went on for a while, and then what happened after that? I'm really trying to think while I speak. Okay, so then it eventually got to a point where I felt like the sales I was making on my online store, they were not satisfying me enough. So I knew that I needed a bigger platform to be on. Right? And so while I was researching on which platform I need to be on, I was approached by a Black-owned e-commerce platform. There was a guy, I forgot his name. I'm sorry, I really did forget his name. But he sent me an email to my business's email address, and he was basically like, hey, we've seen your stuff on Instagram. We are an e-commerce platform. We're wanting hair accessories on our website. Would you be interested? And he sent me a whole write-up of his e-commerce idea and whatnot. While I was still looking into that, I was still going about my research on which platforms I can join. I had big grand ideas. I also thought about pitching myself to hair salons in the neighborhood. I thought about partnering with brands that create hair products to offer my hair accessories as a partnership. I was thinking about a lot. Basically, my mind was always running when I was owning my small business. Literally, I always had ideas. To this day, I'm that person. I always have an idea about something. As for the implementation, that's a whole different story. But I literally always have an idea. So after that, I then came across Take a Lot. Actually, at the time, I was following an influencer who was on the road of putting her hair brand, onto Take a Lot. So I was watching a lot of her Instagram stories and stuff, and I was like, you know, this is a possibility. So I simply went onto the Take a Lot website, saw the Take a Lot seller tab. I went on there, I read a couple articles, and then I decided it's worth a shot. And so I shot my shot, and a couple months later, I was accepted into Take a Lot as a Take a Lot seller, and there began my journey on Take a Lot. And so by the time we got to 2023 January, my business was it was selling on Take a Lot like proper, which was a very exciting and very fulfilling period of time. But that's when I realized that I didn't have enough capacity to continue the way that I was moving. That's when I realized some of the financial mistakes I had made within the foundations of my business. Ooh, especially with the pricing side. Yeah, I started to realize some mistakes I made there. Yo, pricing. I think initially my pricing was okay, but I forgot the aspect that when your material supplier says they are having a price increase, that's an indication that you should also be having a price increase so that you can continue to run with the profit that you were making. Another thing is that I hadn't properly assessed my profit margins to match the goals that I was setting. So that's where I started to feel overworked, and I had to, basically, you saw my story time of why I left my business. Yeah, that's how we got to the start of that aspect. But yeah, that is essentially the story of how I got into the products. And the highlight for me is finding a problem to solve. You need to solve a problem. You need to solve a problem, and you need to have a brand identity. And then the third one, make it easy for your customer. Like, be accessible to your customer. Don't be the DM me to order, DM me for price. Don't do that, okay? Fourth is customer service. Respond to people, speak to your clients. Like, be a human being, be accessible. I know it's tiring. At 10 p.m., I would sit and answer Instagram comments. After a long day of sewing, after even coming back from a house call where I've been standing for 9 hours, I would come home and respond to Instagram comments. Why? Because you don't know what might happen. That person who's asking you in a comment saying, hi, how much? Answer them. Tell them how much. Don't be like, yeah, here's the link to it. No, tell them how much and then say, here's the link where you can purchase, I've seen some people even say to their customers, please read the comments down below. Aibo. Now they must go and scroll every comment because they're trying to find out how much your product is. No. In a separate video, I will go into the do's and don'ts. This one is just to tell you about my story, and I hope that you enjoy it. I will catch you in the next one.